Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. This is the Maverick Podcast. I am your host, DJMaverick. Today, we have another super talented guest for you guys. We have none only than the CTO for MyAddo, Fernando Ruiz. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
How's it going?
Good. It's going really well.
Awesome. Before we dive in, for the 1% of the people out there that don't know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Fernando Ruiz. I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico, and I grew up here in Oklahoma. Breckenridge. I grew up here in the U.S. basically.
Cool.
So,
what part of Mexico?
I was born in Aguascalientes.
Okay.
Aguascalientes. Not Calvillo, Aguascalientes. Aguascalientes.
Aguascalientes. Okay, cool. So it's like super hot water.
Yeah, because a lot of the people here are from Calvillo, Aguascalientes, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, we're part of that. I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah. So where did you go to school?
So here I went to Putnam City West.
Okay.
So I went to Mayfield Middle School and then Putnam City West, and I did some OCCC.
Okay.
And then I bounced. I was like, school is not for me.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit off camera, like you were in Breckenridge, right? And then you moved to Oklahoma, and I was like, why? So tell me a little bit like how that happened, how that went down.
So we moved here to the U.S. when I was 12. So my parents decided to move to the U.S. My dad worked in Breckenridge, Colorado at the time. He was a mason. And he's like, hey, guys, you're coming with me. And I was like, all right, we're moving there. Lived there for 3 years. Loved it.
I bet.
Missed it. Hiking every day.
Yeah.
Cycling every day. But
Did you ski? Did you become a good skier?
yes, snowboarder.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
actually a snowboarder.
Yeah, shout out to my brother. Every time he goes skiing, he breaks something. Like I'm like, dude, you need to find a summer sport. Because every time he's like, oh, I broke my shoulder. I broke my elbow. Like, not good.
Well, the thing is that everybody gets confident because it's snow. But I'm like, it's compact snow.
Yeah.
It hurts whenever you fall. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, my parents basically, 9/11 happened. And then basically a lot of the jobs started to get caught. And my mom was working for one of the hotels in Keystone, Colorado. And she basically was like, hey, they're cutting our hours because, at that time, tourism basically stopped. And they're like, well, we have to move somewhere. And most of my mom's family lives here in Oklahoma. So she's like, okay, we're moving to Oklahoma. And I was like, okay. I get here and I'm like, why?
Like, not cool, right? You're like used to mountains and everything. You get to Oklahoma, it's like flat all of a sudden, right?
I was like, man. Because, even it's funny because I tell people this story every time. And we got here to Oklahoma. And somebody's like, oh, Fernando, you want to go hiking? I'm like, sure. We got a mountain. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's go to Mount Scott. I'm like, okay.
You're envisioning this big old mountain, right?
Well, I'm used to mountains. So I'm like, okay, it's a mountain. And we get there and I'm like, okay, where is it? And it's like, is that thing over there? I'm like, that's a hill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A little bit of different standard, but
Yeah.
Would you say overall you kind of got used to Oklahoma, or was there still like a struggle once you moved here?
I got used to it really quick.
Okay.
I got used to it really quick because I made good friends really quick. Everybody was really welcoming. As a teenage boy coming here and new school, new people, new friends.
It's tough, right?
Yeah, but everybody was super nice. Everybody was welcoming. So that's why it was like easy to move into Oklahoma. So.
Awesome. Did you do any sports or anything in high school?
Football. Football and soccer. Actually, I was the goalkeeper for PC West.
Okay.
From 9th grade to 12th, I was the varsity goalkeeper.
Very cool. Awesome.
I mean, and then I play football too. So
yeah. What'd you play? What position did you play in football?
Right tackle.
Right tackle.
Defense.
Oh, man. So you're getting hit all the time, huh?
Oh, I loved it though.
You like that?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Because I could knock people down. So
yeah, cool. Did you ever decide to like maybe pursue that in college or anything, or?
Yes, I actually was talking to some colleges at the time, but life happened.
Yeah.
I found what love was, and girls came into my life. So
you sound like Vicente Fernández, right? Pude ser el rey del mundo, pero encontré mujeres a mi camino, right?
Yeah, and it's like, I got just like distracted. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, it's too late for that. I was like, okay.
I see. So what was your career ambition when you were in high school? What did you want to be?
I wanted to become a professional soccer player, actually.
Oh, really?
So that was one of the things I worked hard for. I still remember I was 16 and Pachuca, the team de Pachuca came to Oklahoma looking for talent. And actually, we
Really?
went to the tryouts, and I was one of the like 4 or 5 people that got selected.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, hey, but we're going to take you back to Mexico to the camp. And
Yeah.
basically, you have to live there. And, you know,
That's cool.
that's
Yeah.
how you're going to grow. Because at the time, I think the goalkeeper was Caldero.
Okay.
And he's like, bro, you're perfect because you're his size. You just need to get a little bit slimmer.
Yeah.
And you're good.
Man. Okay.
And you got the talent. You're not scared. But they're like, but you have to move to Mexico.
Okay.
To Pachuca, basically.
Yeah.
And live there. And I was like, nah, I'm good.
Really? Oh, man. I thought you were going to say, okay, I'm in.
Well, that's like a year after we came to Oklahoma.
Okay.
So a lot of things were still happening. So I was like, you know, if I do it, sounds like a great opportunity. It's going to take me to where I want to go, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ready. So, you know, being indecisive, that's a bad thing. So
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, eh. And my dad was like, well, it's up to you. I'm like, I'm 16, bro.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that you were going to tell me that your parents were the ones that said, "Oh, you can't go. It's too dangerous or something." But
No,
nah.
my dad loves soccer. So
Okay.
he loves soccer. So he was like, it's up
Do
to
it,
you.
yeah.
It's your decision. If you want to go, just do it. And I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
gonna stay here. Yeah. That's the decision I
Okay.
made.
So what was Plan B? We X out, professional soccer player. What's Plan B on the list for careers?
Computers.
Computers. Okay.
Computers. So I actually fun fact about me is when I came to the U.S. I didn't learn English first. I learned programming first. I learned how to. Well, I should say it. I was writing programs before I could even read and write Spanish or
Really?
English. Yeah.
Okay. Walk me through that. How'd you get started? Like, what kind of stuff were you doing?
So what happened was, so we get to Colorado, right? Breckenridge.
Yeah.
Just so people get like a perspective on that, it's a bunch of rich people,
Mm-hmm.
and we, tourists, money.
Yeah.
They were throwing things in the dumpsters that still have value.
Really?
So
Okay.
one of those things was a computer, a Windows 3.1, 3.0. So
Nice.
old school stuff.
And it was still working.
It was still working
Yeah.
with booklets and everything, and I was like,
Is it a desktop or a laptop?
It was a
Okay.
laptop.
Okay.
So
Cool. So you found this thing and you just started using it, or
yeah,
what?
like I plugged it in. I was like, it's asking me for things. I don't know what it means, but I start messing around with it.
It didn't have like a password or anything.
No.
You had to get it just fired up.
Yeah,
and
it
you're
fired
ready.
up,
Yeah.
and I was like, start like reading the booklets.
Yeah.
Reading because I didn't really read English, but
Yeah.
kind of get an idea of what I was doing. So I started putting the floppy disk in.
Oh, it had floppy disks.
It had
Okay.
floppy
All right.
disks. So
there was no YouTube, right?
no
So-
YouTube at the time.
So how were you finding information? What were you doing?
Well, I found one booklet, and it was like basic programming, or I can't remember the actual name of the programming language, but it's like
Yeah.
a Windows programming language.
Okay.
So I started reading the booklet, and I see the icons said press this, press this, press this, and I was
very
like,
cool.
okay, I'm pressing, and then it
Yeah.
started asking for diskette for the floppies, and I was like, okay, I think there's a list of them, so
Yeah.
I think it's this one.
And you had
plug it
them
in.
all? You had the whole
Yeah.
basically the whole setup.
It's like they
Yeah.
had the whole thing, and they're like with the bag and everything, and they're like, you know what? I don't need the
Wow.
one. I'm just
They
gonna go
just
buy a new one.
upgraded probably, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was like, all right. So, start messing with it, start playing with it, and
Yeah.
got it working. Started
Very
writing
cool.
my first program. I'm like, I didn't know what it was doing, but I know, like, if I type this, it does this.
Yeah.
So how about if I type this other thing, what it does, and just messing with
Cool.
it slowly.
Were you just doing print screen Hello World
Yeah.
or something like that at the time?
Basic
or what?
stupid
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. Cool. Did you ever get to advanced level, maybe a video game or anything like that?
Not at the time. So then after that, I learned English. And then once I tried to do video games, it was till I was 16 again. So
Okay.
I stopped programming. I did programming on and off throughout
Yeah.
the years. Because the next thing I learned was my dad got us a Windows 98 computer.
Okay.
So we were trying to play games on it.
Yeah.
And we found out that we didn't have the right video card at the time, some stupid
Yeah.
kilobytes video card. So we started messing with the computer. So what I did, I went and tried and find the video card and then try to install it myself. So then I started messing with taking computers apart.
Oh,
Because then I
nice.
broke mine, and then
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how.
Trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because at the time, I think my dad paid like $1,500, and it's, at the time it's really expensive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it probably had like, I don't know, not even a gig of RAM or
No,
something,
it was
right?
like 500 megabytes of
Yeah.
RAM. Yeah. So it was
Man.
stupid.
So you started doing like hardware repairs, stuff like that on
Yes.
computers and stuff? Or
Yeah.
what?
I started like taking, same thing, dumpster diving. Well, once at that time we moved to Oklahoma. So this is still in Breckenridge.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was when I was still 15, 14. So I was still dumpster diving, getting computer parts in
Really?
dumpsters. Yeah, trying to figure out and if they could fit, if I can make it work.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just taking things apart and then putting them, trying to see if I could get it to work. Then I
Man.
got it to work, and I was like, "Yep." And then it just became a thing. People will ask me like, "Hey, yeah, your dad told me that you can fix computers." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Sure, I know how to do
Man.
that."
Nice. Cool. So they just started bringing you stuff, and
Yeah.
you figured it out, like you were fixing stuff. Or
Yeah,
what?
I was taking things apart, putting them back together. I would say, I think this is the part that is not working, and I would be like,
Maybe.
hopefully.
Yeah. But
But-
all the parts you were just kind of just finding and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, where did you live? Like Silicon Valley? Like where the heck do you just find like random parts for computers?
No, it wasn't they weren't good parts, but it was just in the dumpsters. Like people would just throw things, and I was like,
So it was like a whole computer, and you would just kind of take like memory stick or something out
Yeah.
of this and something out of the other. Or
yeah, I
something.
will just take everything out of it and then throw the case away, and then have parts, extra
Nice.
parts. Half of the time they didn't work, but I was like, hey,
Yeah.
at least I got something. So.
Man. Did it turn into like a little like side hustle business type thing? Or what?
Not at the time.
No.
So 14, 15, not really. But I was messing already with the computer. So I was just like,
Yeah.
People would ask me, hey, this is not working.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's family would be asking me like, hey, my computer's not working. Can you figure it out? And I was like, okay, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So
that just happened just organically because you weren't speaking English at the time, and you kind of like started doing the computer stuff, or how did that happen?
I always been curious about technology. I think even when I was watching cartoons in Mexico, I was like, oh man, Dexter's Lab.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite cartoons because
Cool.
when I was little, I wanted to be a scientist.
Okay.
Because I thought what he was doing was super cool,
Yeah.
Whenever he builds the big robot that he like gets in and he's fighting other things, I was
Yeah.
like, man, I want to do that.
Nice.
I'm like, if that's the thing I can do. Then, computers and stuff. I'm like, I always been like fascinated by science, just straight up science. I've been fascinated by it. So.
Cool. But at the time after you graduated high school, did you decide to go to college? Did you want to go on pursue that, or like what happened there?
There I decided to go to college as an electrical engineer actually.
Okay.
So I wanted to be an electrical engineer, started the path for that, but not my thing.
No.
No. I love the math, I love the science, but I was like probably electrical engineer is not my thing.
Where did you go? What college?
OCCC,
Okay.
Oklahoma City Community College.
Cool.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. But the other thing is I was working full time plus trying to go to college, like
Just because you were trying to figure out a way to pay for it and everything.
Yeah, because my
Yeah.
parents couldn't pay for it. So I was like, my dad was like, yeah, I'm not helping you with it. So
Yeah, it's tough.
yeah, it's like we're barely making it. So it's either you do it yourself or you don't go. So I was like, you know what? I'll try it. And I did it a couple of years. But then I found out that they had the computer science program.
Okay.
So what happened is I did the electrical engineer program that they had, like for basically you start with it and it just prepares you for OU or OSU.
Okay.
So it's
Like
just-
all the prerequisites, and then you're able to graduate.
and then you can
Okay.
go to the actual like big college for it.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, I was doing the electrical and I was like, you know what? Never mind. Took a couple months off. Then I saw the computer science and then I tried that.
Yeah.
Loved the programming. Loved it. I think we were doing Java and C++.
Okay. Yeah, that's usually where they start. I don't know why though. I mean, they say that that's like transferable. Like I don't really get that.
Yeah.
Like knowing what you know now, like what language would you recommend for people to start off if they're just curious?
I would try something like Python.
Okay.
I recommend Python. Nowadays, JavaScript is good, but I will still recommend Python because it's like it's simple to write. it makes sense.
Yeah.
You can actually just, as you read it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. It's adding things, or, you know.
Yeah, I think you can even make a career, right? Because data science is like all Python,
Yes.
right? Pretty much.
Yeah, so it's as far as you want to take it. So if you just want to learn it to get your first job, or you just get to know what programming is,
Yeah.
that's a perfect language. The other thing I tell people is, don't focus too much on the language. Focus on the concepts.
Okay.
Because a lot of people is like, well, I know how to use Python. I know how to use TypeScript. I know how to use JavaScript. I'm like,
Right.
it doesn't matter. It's the same thing all
Yeah.
across the board. It's like the concepts move across the board no matter what.
Yeah.
If you understand them in Python, you will understand them in C++.
True.
Well, you understand the concepts, but the language itself is written a little bit different. But as long as the concepts are there, you'll be good.
Yeah, just mainly like syntax changes here and there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So you went to OCCC, you did the prerequisites, you figured out computer science. Did you go on to OU, OSU after that, or what happened?
No, I was with a path to OU, but same thing, work, life happened.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm out.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go finish college. The other thing that like really got me angry is they were making me take like history classes and English classes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, what does this have to do with?
Yeah.
What does this have to do with programming? And they're like, well,
Right.
it's life basics, life understanding. I'm like,
That was high school, right?
well, you know, I'm like, I grew up poor in Mexico. I think I have enough life experience, you know, like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good on that side. I'm like, I don't think I need more.
Yeah. So at the time where you kind of let down, were you like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to make computer science happen, or you're like, I'm going to make it happen one way or the other?
Oh, I was like, I'm going to make this happen.
Okay.
I'm going to make this my bitch.
Cool. Like, what was the plan then? Walk me through that. Like, what?
So my next plan was just getting into tech in general.
Okay.
So at the time I was like working IHOP, you know, McDonald's, landscaping. I was doing all these jobs
During the day, just a random like.
just you know, if you can think of a job, I've done it.
Yeah.
Any kind of blue collar job, I basically done it. Mechanic, landscaping, construction, cooking, you know, serving, cleaning offices or whatever. Like I've done everything.
Okay.
But yeah, I would do that, and I was looking for jobs basically that could get me into tech.
Okay.
It took like 3 years because even if there were some jobs that were available, I couldn't get to them. So what I started doing is I started looking for specific jobs that require Spanish.
Okay.
Because I speak Spanish. So,
Yeah.
then I got my break in 2014. Yeah. No, before that. Like 2014. I basically got into Seagate. I don't know if you know Seagate. It's a hard drive company.
Yeah.
They were looking for people that spoke Spanish so they could help with technical support for Spain and England.
Where are they based out of?
Oklahoma City, here on Reno and Consul.
Okay.
They had a big office down there, down there.
Okay.
Actually a street over. But yeah, that was my first job.
Cool.
In tech, like actual official tech job.
Yeah.
So all those years of doing computer repairs and stuff actually did help me for that job, because it was troubleshooting computers, understanding how to do things. I was like, oh, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention, when I was 18, I actually I made it a hustle, computer repair. And I was trying to help people fix their computers, and I was offering my services super cheap.
Yeah.
Like I could fix your computer for $50.
Nice.
And I had people come to me like, oh, that's too expensive. I'm like, okay, take it to Geek Squad.
Yeah.
And they're like, came back like, oh, yeah, can you still do it? Yeah, I'll do it for $150. And she's like, why? You went up like 3 times. I was like, well,
I'm busy now.
I know Geek Squad charge you like 300 and something just to look at it. So 150, and they're like, okay.
Yeah. So at Seagate, were you troubleshooting like servers, or was it still like consumer grade?
It was consumer grade at the beginning. So basic hard drives, basic NAS devices.
Okay.
So I did some network troubleshooting, basically making sure like they had their file shares, the hard drives. Any hard drive was simple. Okay, is it making noise? Yeah, we need to replace it.
Okay.
That's it.
No data recovery or anything like that? Like if they lost data?
I never got to touch that. So the only thing I could tell them was like, hey, you lost your data. If you want to recover it, I can send you to the recovery department, but they're going to charge you like $5,000.
Okay.
And that was as far as I went that route. So
did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy that position, or did you feel like kind of limited? And because you're like, I probably know more than what I'm doing right here.
I always felt like I knew more than what I needed to do there. So I kept pushing, and they moved me to one of the actual big servers that they had. So I actually started doing technical support for that.
Okay.
So, and that was more complex stuff. They actually just troubleshooting the server itself. It took like days. It wasn't like okay, unplug it, plug it in, try this. Here's the command, try this. No, it was like, hey, here's the symptoms of it. Here, like the 5 options that could be, but we cannot play with this. So like if we mess this up, it's like, it could cost the company $10,000s of dollars or millions of dollars. Sure. So we're like, okay, I was there, and I was like,
were you like getting to run scripts and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
So I got to run scripts. I automate a lot of things.
Awesome.
I actually got to make modifications to some of the OS on the server too, because we wanted to make it work. Yeah. So we had to do it ourselves, and we got it to work. So that was exciting.
That's very cool. How long did you do that? Like, how long were you there?
I did it for 2 years, 2 to 3 years, I think. 2 years.
Cool.
2 years.
So it sounds like you had some ambition while you were there. You were trying to make things happen, move up. Like, what are some of the recommendations for people that are in a job and maybe they're like, I know more than this, I want to move to a different area? What are some recommendations that you would give them?
I would say start looking for any entry point, right? Mm-hmm. Don't just focus on your end goal. Like, let's say you want to be, an example, a developer, right? Yeah. Most likely to get to that point, you have to have experience, or you have to know people. That's one of the big things. So the other way, what I would suggest is try any entry level position, even if it's QA, even if it's technical support, because that will lead you to understand more of how things work and open the doors for you. Okay. That's one of my big things. Is a lot of people is like, well, that's not the job that I want. It's like, well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, get your foot in the door, right?
Get your foot in the door, because a lot of people, like, maybe that's not what you want, honestly. I've seen a lot of that happen is because people get like, oh, I want this job, and I will not work other jobs until I get that job. And they get that job, and they're like, this is not for me. I was like, well, if you were to try like other different jobs before you get to there, you probably would have noticed that. Like, you know what? That's probably not for me.
Yeah, definitely. So what did you do after Seagate? Like, what did you do? Did you kind of just outgrow it and you were like looking for other roles, or what happened?
Yeah, they started moving me to more like training, because at the time they told me that my knowledge on things was good. So they're like, you know what? You could do good in training. Okay. And they like my personality. So they're like, oh, you're really friendly, blah, blah. So yeah, teaching would be a good thing for you. And I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, because you probably enjoy more of the technical side, right?
I mean, I enjoy teaching. It's fun. But for a full-time job, I think I'm out.
Yeah. So you started looking at that point, or what happened?
Yeah. So I quit Seagate, and I got a job at another software company. Okay. It was called Think Health, I think. Okay. I started working there. They promised me a QA position, but they put me in tech support. Okay. That happens. Yeah. It is what it is. But I kept asking them, like, hey, I want to be part of QA. Hey, I want to work with the development team. Yeah. Hey, I want to work with, just give me a little task. I'll do them outside of my little task that I'm doing right now. Whatever. I'm doing my regular job, and I'll do the task that you gave me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah. I was like, hey, just give me a little bit. I want to be there. You need help here? I'll help. Wherever.
Were they receptive to that idea, or what happened?
The management at that place was not. No. He's like, stay on your lane, basically. And I'm like, it's okay. Yeah. One of the good things I met there is one of my other friends, good friends, and one of our co-founders that helps with tech. His name is Sasha, and I met him there. Cool. So one of the other senior developers that I work with, he was there working too. He's like, man, It's like, I wish you could help me with stuff. And I was like, man, I'm asking, but your boss.
And he was like actually a developer there?
He was a developer at the time.
Okay. Pushing and pushing, they were kind of just blowing you off. So did you get like kind of discouraged or what happened?
Yeah, I was getting stressed because I'm like, man, I'm here. They're literally right there.
Yeah, you're so close, right?
And I can't be part of that team yet. So one of the other workers, coworkers, one of my coworkers there, his name is Parrish. He was like, hey, there's another company called Alamode. I don't know if you heard of them. They're looking for people right now. Mm-hmm. It's in tech, but you can grow in that company. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing it.
Nice.
I'm doing it.
Cool.
I went, did the interview, and I quit as soon as they're like, yeah, you get the job. And I came back, and they're like, hey, you need to give your 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm out.
You're out. I'm out. Man. So you weren't worried about burning any bridges or anything? No plan B? You're like, I'm out. Yeah.
That's the only place I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not even
you were so discouraged, right?
I was trying to be helpful, trying to be part of the team, I saw the stresses that they were having, and I was trying to help, but they're like, no. I was like, bro, like, give me a little
something,
bit.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Let me help a little bit. But they didn't care. So I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah. And this Alamo, like what type of software company, like what do they do?
So they do appraisal software. Now they're part of CoreLogic. So CoreLogic bought them. But back in the day, it was its own company. And basically whenever you go buy a house and they send an appraiser, that appraiser uses their software this is nationwide. This is not just here in Oklahoma,
really?
Everywhere.
Oh, that's cool.
They use their software to basically, you know how they give you samples of 4 houses or 5 houses at the same price?
Yeah.
That's what the software does. It looks at the listings and looks for listings that are at the same size or, same square footage, same build and everything.
In the same like radius or something. Okay.
It helps with that, and it makes it easier for them to use it so they can actually use it and be like, hey.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Here's your appraisal, and thanks to this software, it makes my job easy. So.
And you land like your dream job? You were a software developer now?
No.
Still not?
No.
What happened?
No. I walk in there, and they're like, well, we know you want to be part of the software development team.
You interviewed for a software development team.
I just wanted to get out, so I actually went for the tech stuff. So I just went for tech.
Okay.
But when I was doing the interview, I was like, hey, but can I work as a developer eventually? And they're like, yeah. Within a year or 2, you can make it to development if you work hard enough. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay.
So I was like, cool. And I was like, do you want the job? I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, for sure.
So I get there, technical support, same thing. Funny story about that. I get there. My first week, they get I sat down on one of the pods to do actual work.
Yeah.
And all the people around me got fired the next day.
No. Like your first week that you were there? Jeez.
They were firing everybody. I guess the management, I think that's whenever they started thinking about selling it to CoreLogic.
Yeah.
So I got at the beginning of that, so they were firing everybody. Everybody that was making the company look bad or, they had bad, whatever. They were just firing people. And I'm sitting there going well, I guess I'm out too.
Wow. But it never got close to you or anything?
And management came and they're like, hey, I know you're getting stressed out because everybody's getting fired. Don't worry. It's just people that don't need to be here. Bad apples. A lot of promotions, more hirings and everything. So I was like, cool. All right. So yeah, I stay there.
Did it turn out to be the case? You were able to move up and everything worked out?
Yeah, so one of the first things I did, so we had a beta team. So that was support, and then the beta team, that's your next step.
Okay.
But what they were doing is basically you got to do that position for a couple of months, and then you switch back to your support. Mm-hmm. And then you try to do QA and flip. So they did that until you can actually, if they can see you had the actual skill, then they will keep you.
Okay.
So I did the beta team. And they love me there, and they're like, "Hey, bro, you're doing great. You should work with us." And we have one more spot, and then we have one other spot that basically cycles through. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'll try it. I mean, I did it, and the only problem with that, I was having panic attacks and that because it was stressing me out.
How long were the rotations? When you were, with the beta team, how long did you have to prove yourself?
It was like 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
So I think 3 months was the actual cycle.
That's a little short to try to like, learn their process, learn everything,
Yeah,
right?
it was stressful. Like I had my first panic attack right there. I just started like bawling. I'm just sitting there like, and just tears starts flowing out. And I'm like trying to breathe. And I'm like, and they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong.
Oh no. What happened? Did you have to like leave? Did you go see a doctor or what happened?
No, they were just like, relax. There's nothing wrong. There's
Yeah.
no hurry. There's no problems. If there's something wrong, we can fix it. Just relax. And I was like, I'm trying.
What were you stressing about? Did you feel like you weren't up to par, or did you like just kind of wanted to make it so bad that you were just like super hard on yourself, or what?
It was more of a, I want to prove myself. I want to prove myself that I can do this job. And it's not, when I walk in here for the interview, it wasn't all talk, right?
Sure.
I want to prove myself that I can do this job. And I guess I wasn't picking up things as fast as I wanted to. So that's why I started panicking.
I see.
Apparently to them, I was way ahead of what they were expecting. So I was like way out there. But for me, I was just like not within their space of, I felt like I was not there yet. So
sure.
That's what made me panic. And it was stressful.
Wow. And then they rotate you now to QA, it sounds like, after that, right? Or
so back to tech. So I was going to rotate to QA, but there was somebody ahead of me that got to rotate to QA first.
Okay.
And I was waiting on him to finish his rotation so I could go to QA. Mm-hmm. So I was waiting for that rotation, and then I quit.
Oh, yeah? Why? Just because the amount of pressure, you were the panic and all that, or what happened?
Yeah, it just got to me, honestly. It just a lot. I talked to their VP of development, and I was like, hey, I want to work for you. Like, I can prove it. Like, just give me a test or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, you have to go through the rotations. And I'm like, man, I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm stressing out. Because that job, when it comes to technical support, it was intense, because they were like, if you're a entry technical support, you had like 5 minutes to fix the problem.
Really? Okay.
It's like you got 5 minutes. And when I started, the first day that I started, I had the manager breathing in my ear like, oh man, that's not how you do that. That's not how you do that. Yeah. That's not how you do that. We did got training though. We did got a bunch of training, but
there's a lot of micromanaging though. They were just like over your shoulder the entire time.
At that time, the first week, and actually he was one of the first people that got fired. And then a bunch of them, then some of the guys that were already working there became managers. Mm-hmm. And they were more chill. They're just like, if you need help, just let me know. I was like, that brought that down really quick. Yeah. But I was like, I'm done. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. Did you have a plan B already lined up or no?
I always been the kind of like, hey, okay, moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a little trend here with you. Yeah.
I like to take risk. Yeah. And I'm always about, let's see what happens. Okay. I'm not married. I don't have kids, so I can do that.
Yeah. So it sounds like that's kind of maybe why you like startups, right? Because you like, probably working, with no micromanaging. You like to have some liberty, like what you're working on. Yes. And then you probably enjoy the excitement of doing something new, right?
Yes. It's awesome. I love it. I love every second of it. Was
that like kind of your next role after that? Did you go to a startup or what happened after that?
No. So, man, I keep jumping into... So that job, finished that job, went back to landscaping at the time because I was like, I need a job, landscaping. Yeah. Gonna do it. I'm not going to sit here and complain and cry that, didn't work out. It's okay. It's whatever. So then Seagate called me and they're like, hey, do you want a job again? I'm like, cool. All right. I'll go back to work at Seagate. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Then I started going to, after that, I started noticing that there was a new group of people building here. Probably they were there already, but I didn't pay attention until that time. And they're Techlahoma. Okay. So Techlahoma basically is like the technology group here in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah,
basically.
Just like a tech community, I guess, tech community,
right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, I was working at Seagate. I started going to their meetups, and I met one of the ladies that is in charge of it, and she's like, if you want to get to programming, here's some steps. There's a free code camp. Make sure you follow the steps. I know you know programming, but you need to follow like an actual procedure to get there. And I was like, okay,
cool.
I'll do that. So I started working with that, creating my portfolio, which you don't want to see. It's crap.
Yeah.
So built my portfolio, and then I was still working at Seagate, but then I got an offer for one of the big companies here called Bison.
Okay.
Bison Technologies is called now, but back in the day it's Bison Oilfield Services. So they're like, hey, you want to work on tech? And we're going to actually start doing development at some point. So I moved to Bison Technologies, and I was working doing tech, but they were running me down because they had sites all over Oklahoma. So I was trying to do my development side on the side, plus working a full-time job, which I was putting in like 16 hours a day, 14 hours. I was getting tired.
Were you like having to travel with that company too, or what?
Yeah, I was going to every corner of Oklahoma.
Wow.
Like every corner.
Yeah.
So Woodward, Oklahoma, Amarillo, everywhere. I was driving everywhere. So I was like, oh man.
So you're out in the field with like the oil field, like kind of like supporting their apps and stuff like that, or what?
Yeah, like their networks, basically setting up networks, setting up their phones, setting up anything tech related. They're like, hey, Fernando, we need this. Okay. And I was just driving over there. I'm like, our printer is not working. Okay, follow this step. Try this. Yeah. It doesn't work. I was like, okay, I guess I have to go out there. 3-hour drive just to fix a printer. Yeah. So did that. During that time, I did it for like a year and a half. I did my portfolio at Free Code Camp. Started applying to actual developer jobs at that time. Cool. So any junior developer job that pop up, I was applying to. Mm-hmm. Didn't get callbacks. I didn't get any, I wasn't getting any feedback, right? So I went to another meetup, and I saw a company their employees were doing a presentation. Okay. The company is called SCA, and they're giving a presentation, and the director of technology at the time, he was there, and I was like, hey, I literally walk up to him and I was like, hey, I want to work for you.
Nice.
I was like, I want to work for you. He's like, man, it's like, we don't have any positions open right now, but I'll let you know as soon as we get one. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll wait. Mm-hmm. And that happened. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I get a call from Teleflora, the flower company here in Oklahoma. They're like, hey, thank you for your, putting your, for your application. Sure. Here's a couple of tests that we want to do. So come in for an interview. Before you come for the interview, do this. They gave me like a little test, like a home take.
Like
a home test.
Like a coding test? Or
a coding test. Okay. Basically, they wanted me to set up a server and a front end, like a website with a server, and have it basically be able to put data into it and make sure the data is being pulled. Okay. We should call that CRUD applications. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool. I did. I went home that night and I did it. Had it ready. My interview was like a week later, and I was just making sure that thing worked and everything. I sent it to him, and then went to the interview, talked to him, and basically got the job. Cool. That time. After I got the job, his name is Chris, the manager there. He's like, hey, I had like 10 applicants. Send them the test, the programming test, and you were the only one that actually sent me a completed test. I was like, really? I was like, He's like, one of them sent me like the front end, but he wasn't like the front end, but the back end didn't work. Yeah. The other one sent me the back end, but the front end didn't work. Man. And one had the back end working and the front end working, but they weren't connecting with each other. Yeah. So it's like, and yours was like easy to run and everything was working. I'm like, well, I spend a lot of time. Yeah.
But you knocked it out like in the first week though, right? Yeah. You were just kind of just like perfecting it after that, right?
Yeah. I was like, man, I need to get this job. This is what I've been waiting for.
Very cool. Well, it's awesome to hear like your ambition, right? Because you were still trying to make it happen when you realized that there was a ceiling, something there, you can't make it happen. Time to reset, right? Is that what you recommend to people? Is like when you figure out like it's not the right fit for you to just not be afraid to move on?
Especially the younger you are, the more I say try things.
Yeah.
Try things. Don't just be like, oh, I want to do one thing. Is like try things. Because a lot of the experience that I learned in those jobs, right? Not just in technology, but like landscaping. I was a manager in landscaping. I took care of crews, right?
Yeah.
I learned how to talk to people because I had to deal with customers and stuff. Those are a lot of skills that till this day, they help me a lot.
Yeah.
In any job. Reason they'll hire me, he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to talk to people. He knows how to like deal with things.
Yeah.
Without, and you don't learn that unless you try things, right? Actually, one of my recommendations is everybody should work at McDonald's.
Really?
Everybody should work at McDonald's.
All right, walk me through this. Why?
My management skills, I learned them at McDonald's.
Really?
My people skills, I learned them at McDonald's.
Okay.
I don't know how McDonald's is now, but back in the day, we learned how to, if somebody's screaming, somebody's yelling, how to bring that person back to like, okay, chill.
Okay.
Without being rude, without being mad, without, basically matching not matching their energy. Just basically, okay, bring your energy down a little bit. So that management, McDonald's has a great management like course.
Really?
That they take you through. Like if you actually pay attention and you learn it, you're like, man, they know what they're talking about.
So you go through like a training program that's like building you up to be a manager there?
Yes. They even have a hamburger university. I don't know if you heard about it. So the way that it works is you're crew, right? And then you become like a team lead and then manager.
Okay.
Once you become a manager, you can become a store manager. So the store managers, depending on which store you work, I don't know exactly which stores here offer that. They get sent to the hamburger university.
Nationwide,
it's in I think it's in Chicago or somewhere.
Okay.
So I was like, that's like a thing.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I want to go to hamburger university.
Cool.
But I mean, each step, if you work for the right McDonald's, they'll teach you how to be a team leader, how to talk to people, how to deal with people, how to bring down, like how you can notice a lot of things, time management. Okay. They teach you like a lot of the skills that I think they're so useful. So I feel like everybody should go through McDonald's. Also teach you a skill that you will never get everywhere else. You'll learn how to treat service people.
True.
Because you're going to be treated like crap by other people. And you're like, you know what? I don't want to do that to other people. Yeah. At least I hope you're like that.
Yeah. They always say that you can gauge a people by the way that they treat like a waiter or something, right?
Yeah.
You believe in that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, a lot of people, they're angry at the world and they want to take it out on somebody. Yeah. And usually, if I'm angry, I wouldn't take it out on some random person. I'll probably go home and just take it out on a boxing bag or something,
Yeah.
But some people like just take it out on you and you're like, what did I ever do to you, right? Yeah. You're coming to this place. I'm trying to help you with food, serving you food, and you're acting like an a-hole here.
Yeah. So walk me through, like, what was like one of the worst experiences that happened to you while working there? You remember?
So, So I used to work at the McDonald's on Class and Expressway.
Okay.
I was having a really bad day that time. I think I was having problems at the time with my girlfriend. We were breaking up. So we were fighting all the time. I was already stressed. My manager at the time. So I was a manager and there was another manager with me. She was really rude to all the other employees. There was stress, tension between them. And then that just added pressure to me. And had one guy come through the drive-thru. And they're like, we gave him his food, goes home, and then I get a call. He just starts calling me like, hey, motherfuckers. He calls like, hey, motherfuckers, you forgot one of my hamburgers. And we're like, bro, like, okay, chill. Like, just come pick it up. We'll give it to you. We'll give you another one. No. This is BS. You guys don't know how to do your job. You pieces of blah, blah, blah. Started cussing me out and stuff. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to beat you up. What's your name? I'm like, Fernando.
Nice.
He's like, okay, I'm going to go beat you up, Fernando. you're an a-hole, blah, blah, blah. Just cussing me out. Just yelling all these things that he was going to beat me up. Once he get here, he was going to throw things at me and blah, blah. I was like, okay, just let me know when you get here.
Yeah.
That was it for me. Man. I was done. That day. It was like 2 p.m. too. It was, I was done.
You're already like stretching out, waiting for the guy to show up or what?
This though. So guy comes in, right? Starts yelling and screaming. He shows up to front on the front counter, starts yelling, screaming. So the other manager was in the front counter and I was in the back taking care of something.
Yeah.
So she's freaking out because there's this guy just yelling at her and screaming. And she's like, he's like, motherfucker, I'm looking for Fernando, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And she's like, okay, well, I'll bring you Fernando. And I come from the back and I see the guy and I look at the girl and I was like, hey, I'm quitting right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm just quitting right now. So I start taking off my shirt. It was a white shirt. And I was just taking it off. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you came here. You say, we're going to beat me up. Yeah. Let's do this. Do it. let's take it outside. Like, I have no problem. I'm up to here right now. Yeah. Can't put up with anybody right now. I'm done. I'm done for the day. You're just the last, just the last drop in this bucket of messes. And he's like, no, man, I just want my hamburger.
Oh, man.
Oh, no. I was like, nah, you call me. You're going to beat me up.
Like, let's go outside. And do you want fries with that?
I took my shirt off. I put it, I folded it, put it in there. And I'm like, okay. I started walking around. Dude starts walking back. He's like, man, I want no problems, bro. And I was like, you sounded like you wanted problems.
Yeah.
I think he didn't realize how big I am, because I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like 240. And I was like,
this was when you were playing football? Or
I was like muscly. So I was like, all right, let's do this. Nice. And dude was like,
it's like, I just want my burger.
He's like, he started just saying, sorry, dude. I didn't mean it. I'm just having a bad day. I'm like, I looked at him and I was like, you're not the only person having a bad day.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm like, everybody's having a bad day at some point. Yeah. And you don't know, right? Some people might be smiling at you, but they're having a bad day. I was having a crappy day, trying to make it the best I could.
Yeah.
And you just had to push it. I'm like, and now you push it? Like, let's go outside. We sat there for like 5 minutes just arguing back and forth. Yeah. And finally, he's like, no, man, I'm sorry. I apologize. And then I think I finally come down and I was like, okay, I'm sorry too. It's just that wasn't necessary.
So did he leave without his burger? Or what?
Oh no, I gave him his burger and stuff. And I was like, okay, it's all cool. At least he apologized. So I was like, it's all good.
Man.
Well, yeah, that's
a great story.
That's the thing I remember every time somebody asked me like, hey, something bad happened. I was like, well, almost.
I don't know if it is this way for you or not, but a lot of people, when I tell them I work in tech, they assume that it's a super easy job. Like, oh, you just on the computer playing games all day, surfing the internet all day, right? But what I always tell them, it's like, it's difficult to unplug, right?
Right.
Like if you're working outside, construction, landscaping, like, yeah, it's hard work. You're going to like be miserable. But once you clock out, right?
Right.
But when you're working tech, like all of a sudden at night, you're still thinking about this problem you're trying to solve. I'll be in the shower thinking like, oh, I could have done that differently. Like, what if we tried this? Does that happen to you?
Yes, actually, I had that conversation with my dad. Once I started doing programming, he would come home and I'd be like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. And he'd be like, you're sitting in front of a computer.
Right.
You're sitting on a desk. Like,
yeah.
How do you retire? Like, I go work in construction. How are you tired? Like, I don't want to process anything else. Like, I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I just want to lay down and not think about anything. But like you said, right? If I was working on a problem, that thing is just pinging and pinging. And I'm like...
Yeah, because if you're working landscaping or something, you're going to be like, man, I wish I could have mowed that lawn differently. Or what if I went this other way with it, right? Like, but when you're solving problems all day, because that's what you do in tech, you're solving problems every single day. You're always like, well, what if we restructure it this way? What if we get the data from over here? What if we could cut down the processing time to like, you're always thinking about all these problems, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The thing that has happened to me and some of my coworkers is we're working on something all day. People think, one of the other things is, I think YouTube has a lot to do with this, with tech. People say in a day of a software developer, and all they do is just walk in, drink some coffee, sit in front of a computer for 15 minutes, go drink coffee, go eat, go hang out.
Go to the gym, right?
Come back. Yeah. And I tell people that's not a reality. Right. Reality is like it's a job. So you walk in there 8 hours, they expect output of 8 hours. Now, Whether you do those 8 hours in 4 hours, it's different.
Right.
But if you're just starting and you want to do, that's not going to happen. Like you need to put 8 hours to output 8 hours, right? But somebody who has more experience, they'll put in 2 hours, and that's the output of 4 hours. They'll do 4 hours in 2 hours. Let's say.
But I would argue, even if you were that good and you knocked it out in 4 hours, like even if you're not at work, you're still thinking about that, right? Like
yeah. Oh yeah. Because that's the thing. Oh, sorry, I jump around, but yeah, I was gonna say even my coworkers will go home. Mm-hmm. Worked all day in a problem, couldn't solve it. We couldn't figure out. Go home, in their sleep.
Yeah.
They find the solutions to their problems. So that tells you from the morning till next morning.
That's crazy.
Their brain was thinking about, how do I solve this? How do I fix it? Did I approach it wrong? What did I did wrong? Did I take these things in consideration before I even mess with this thing?
Yeah.
And and it's like my one of my coworkers is like, yeah, bro. Like I went home, took a nap. I was asleep and it popped up.
Yeah.
Like the solution. I'm like, oh, I know where the bug is.
Yeah.
I know where it is.
Yeah, that's happened to me where like I'll be just staring at something, I can't figure it out. I'll go for a walk, and then you come back and it's like you got fresh eyes, and you're like, oh, I'm missing a semicolon here or something. And it's like that was it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, drives me crazy. I do a lot of typos. That's my thing. Typos everywhere, and I say it's my Mexican side that comes out and types sometimes. Yeah.
So, like on the front end, like where you're like displaying text or something. Yeah. Nice.
Even back end, I'm working on something like, hey, I'll tell one of my coworkers, hey, can you look at it?
Yeah.
I know it should be working, and he's like, yeah, that's a typo right there, bro. I'm like, man,
nice.
Fix it and it works. And I'm like, man, I just spent like 40 minutes just trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
It was a typo.
So tell me how MyAddo, like how did that come out? Like you were already friends with Jose, or what happened?
Yeah, we've been friends since 2008. I think after I graduated high school, we met and we just started hanging out. We went boxing together. I don't know if he talked about that. No,
he didn't talk about that.
Yeah, so we used to go to this Aztecas boxing club.
Okay. On
the south side. We used to hang out there, go boxing. So yeah, we became friends since then. Cool. Thanks to another friend. And he always known that I've been in tech, but he's always been like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But a year ago, 2 years ago, he basically came in, wherever. Man, I'm bad with timelines. I'm sorry. He basically came in and he's like, hey, what if we bring things from Mexico? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, what if we copy another company that's doing that, but from a different country? Mm-hmm. Don't want to say names.
Yeah, that's best. Yeah.
Yeah. And how about we do it, but from Mexico, right? Instead of bringing it from their country, why don't we bring it from Mexico? And it's going to be easy because there's a lot of manufacturers in Mexico. And he's bringing all these ideas in, and I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. Mm-hmm. Put it on paper. Come back to me with it, and we'll talk about it.
Cool.
So I thought he was just going to be like, it was going to be one of those things like, because you have friends that are like, oh, yeah, I have an idea. And then you're like, okay, actually come up with an actual plan, and we execute it, right? Mm-hmm. And most of the time they're like, whatever, it is whatever. But he actually came back, and he's like, yeah, here's who we can talk to. Here's who our first employee can be in Mexico. She can help us with, talking to people, because
very cool.
Our Spanish is good, but it's not professional Spanish good. So, yeah, so we started talking about it, coming up with plans, ideas, how we're going to execute it and stuff. So, yeah, it started in a coffee shop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Coffee shop.
Cool. Was it just like the typical napkin, like you're just kind of sketching like what the app might look like, or what?
Well, at the time so the thing with it is, so any startup, I usually recommend basically do a proof of concept. So for that, most likely you don't need software.
Right.
Period. Right. You should be able to, like us, it was just calling the manufacturer in Mexico, make them feel comfortable, buy products.
Okay.
Were we able to do it? Yes. Now, can we have them actually do it through our platform? they're willing. They were like, yes, we'll do it. We'll sign up for things. If you send me links, I'll sign up for it and stuff. So we're slowly like adding things like, well, we have this other company in Mexico that helps us with shipping and stuff. We want you to use them. And they're like, okay, yes, we will use them.
Cool.
So we actually have a no-code solution.
Okay.
So it's basically a simple website, and we just want people to test it out and see it and go actually see the products and stuff. We've been getting feedback on that, and we're about to release like an actual updated like an actual website that we built.
Awesome.
So
cool.
with all the stuff that we have, that no-code solution, it's just simple. Like I said, it's just proof of concept. Basically, we're trying to make sure it works.
Yeah.
Before we spend more time on it, right? So.
Cool. I always ask my guests to tell me something about themselves that most people don't know about them. So I'm going to put you on the spot right
now. I did MMA.
Really?
I did MMA, amateur MMA.
Nice.
Did it for a couple of years.
Really?
So, yeah.
Are there like YouTube clips or anything that people can find now? Okay.
No, I was like in the middle of Oklahoma, like out there in the boonies of Oklahoma.
Okay. Very cool.
Because that's where you basically do your fights here in Oklahoma, in the boonies of Oklahoma.
Cool. So the McDonald's guy had no idea who he was messing with, right?
Yeah, no, because we were doing boxing. The boxing helped me with that, and I did some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu too, so I learned to do that, and Muay Thai. So I was getting into it, so it was fun.
Like, what would you say to people, off camera, we were talking about how as a kid, you almost thought that it was not possible to be a software developer, right?
Yeah.
So we learned that all your struggles, like they eventually like connected it and like got you where you need to be. You got the skills, right? But what would you say to the person that maybe thinks it's not feasible?
Honestly, just work hard. Make a plan, set a goal where you want to be, try hard. Basically make a lot of network.
Okay.
Today I'm where I'm at because I made a lot of good friends. I met a lot of awesome people, but for that I had to go out of my way to go meet those people, right? Work hard. If let's say you want to be a developer and you're 14 years old, 19, 20, 30, whatever age you are, make sure you're already working on that skill.
Okay.
Take the time to actually work on it, because that's where the actual skill is made, right? Working when nobody's watching, whatever that is, whatever they call it. Basically, all those years, even though when I was doing landscaping, I was still doing programming. When I was working at McDonald's, I was still doing computer stuff. I was always working, touching computers, doing programming, trying my best because I knew. And I'm like, I'm going to get there because I'm going to get there no matter what.
Yeah,
so.
1,000%. Well, it sounds like you made it.
Yeah.
Right? Very cool. So the people, if they're interested in following you, kind of seeing what you're doing, do you have any public, like social media that you want to plug in?
I'm in LinkedIn. So the username is like Fernando Ruiz 07.
Okay.
That's the user. GitHub, Linux user 07.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't really use a lot of social media, so that's about it. So
cool. I like that. Well, anything else you want to plug in before we sign off?
Yeah, just check out MyAddo.
Awesome.
Go to myaddo.com and check our products. We're gonna be doing a website update here pretty soon.
Okay.
With more products, and if you have requests, just let us know, and we can find them and source them for you.
Awesome.
So.
Cool. I like that. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the super talented Fernando Ruiz on the Maverick podcast. In the dream we trust.